And we are back. Welcome to night 2 of Matchday 3 in the Champions League. After what was possibly my best ever night of predictions, we got 7 out of 8 in terms of the results. And we also got 3 correct scores, including the Bayern Munich game and both games in Group B. And I think we're only 1 goal off in 3 other games as well. So like I say, an incredible night of predictions for me. The only game to let me down being the Benfica Real Sociedad game. But I did preface that by saying that was the toughest prediction of the night. So if that's not worth a like and a subscribe, I don't really know what else is, because there's not really much more I can do other than get that last one right. So yeah, thank you for all the support we got on yesterday's video. We got a lot of comments in the comments section, so thank you very much for that. We have got 8 more matches for you today in the Champions League for match day 3. And without any further ado, let's just get straight into them. And we kick things off in Group E with the first of the 2 early kickoffs for this evening, which sees Feyenoord taking on Lazio. Now, the crucial piece of information that you need to know about this game is that Feyenoord's top scorer, Santiago Jimenez, is available once again after he was suspended for the first 2 match days of the Champions League. He has got 13 goals and 3 assists in just 9 games in the Eredivisie so far this season. He is absolutely flying, and I expect him to come straight back into the side and do the damage for Feyenoord tonight. Don't get me wrong, Lazio are a good team. They got a fantastic result, 2-0 away at Sassuolo at the weekend, so they're going to be up for this. They obviously are very much competing to be number 2, I would say, in this group. I think everyone expects Atletico to win this group. So the next 2 match days for Feyenoord and Lazio will probably determine who will be playing in the Europa League and who will be continuing in the Champions League. I'm going to edge it in Feyenoord's favour. I'm going to go for 2-1 to the home side. Don't be surprised if I do 2-1 Lazio in the second game, but obviously it all depends how this first game goes. But I think, as things stand right now, Feyenoord should be the favourites going into this one. The other game in Group E sees Celtic taking on Atletico Madrid, and as I always like to say, I just don't have any faith in the Scottish clubs to pull anything off in Europe. I just don't think they're at the level of the other teams around them, with the greatest of respect to them. And with Atletico Madrid, the way they're playing at the moment, with the way their star player Antoine Griezmann is playing at the moment off the back of his hat-trick at the weekend, I can only see this being a one-sided game with Atletico Madrid taking it, and I'm going to go for 3-0 to Atleti. On to Group F, everyone's favourite group in the Champions League this season. I mean, is anyone going to be watching anything else other than the games in Group F tonight? I don't really know. I suppose any fans of the other clubs. But for me, it is going to be all eyes on Group F once again. And we start things off at St James's Park as Newcastle take on Borussia Dortmund. And I have to be honest with you, I can only see this going one way, which is a win to Newcastle. They're playing some of the best football, arguably in the world right now, certainly in the Premier League. They are thrashing teams for fun at the moment, outclassing them, outplaying them, outrunning them. And look, Borussia Dortmund are a very good team, but I still don't think they've hit their usual standards. Maybe they're still adjusting to life without Jude Bellingham in that midfield, but I just think Newcastle take it. I think it's a game that Newcastle should be winning. I believe they probably would have targeted all 3 home games as their opportunity to get into the knockout stage of the Champions League. And obviously we all saw what happened against PSG in match day 2. I'm going for 3-1 to Newcastle. I think Dortmund can score, but it wouldn't surprise me if Newcastle kept a clean sheet as well. I think this is easily Newcastle's game to lose. So I think 3-1 is a fair result. In the other game, we have Paris Saint-Germain taking on AC Milan. And I think this is a much, much tougher one to call, and possibly the toughest prediction of the night. I can't really split them. They're so inconsistent at the moment. I mean, Milan are playing well, but in Europe, they haven't started very well. PSG had a poor start in Ligue 1 and have started to get things back together, but then they lost 4-1 to Newcastle. So it's really tough to place this one. I don't want to sit here and say I believe that either of these teams are going to win this game, because I really do think it's just going to be that classic case of you've got 2 very good teams and it's going to come down to maybe a mistake or who just takes that big chance on the night. So I'm just going to go for a 1-1 draw, which will be a fantastic result for Newcastle, assuming they do beat Borussia Dortmund, because it'll put them in prime position to top the group. But yeah, I can't split these 2 right now. 1-1 PSG, AC Milan. On to Group G, we start off with Leipzig taking on Crvena Zvezda, obviously Red Star Belgrade. Looking at the tables, I just think this is too easy a game for Leipzig. I think Red Star are more than capable of doing something, but I don't think it's going to be enough to stop a Leipzig team that are playing some fantastic football in the Bundesliga so far this season. And they did put up a hell of a fight against Manchester City earlier on in this group as well. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Leipzig. I could see it potentially being a couple more as well, but I'm going to be a little bit fair to Sverensvesta and just go for 3-1. The other game in Group G sees the young boys of Switzerland taking on the treble winners in Manchester City. And again, I just don't see this being too much of a problem for Manchester City. I think they can definitely make some changes tonight, rest some players for the Manchester derby, and still win this one fairly comfortably. Obviously, when I do my predictions for these games, I research how these teams are doing in their domestic leagues. And normally, Sverensvesta and Young Boys are top of their respective leagues in Serbia and Switzerland, and neither of them are. They're both currently sitting in second. So I think for both cases, the Leipzig and for Man City, these should be pretty simple games. I'm going to go for 4-0 to Manchester City, with the greatest of respect to Young Boys, who obviously I know, as we played against them as Manchester United last season, they can cause some problems, but I don't think they'll cause too many problems for Manchester City. Finally then, we have Group H. We start off with the other early kickoff today between Barcelona and Shakhtar Donetsk. Barcelona, of course, oozing with confidence at the moment, even without Robert Lewandowski and a couple of injuries in defence. They've still been picking teams apart. They've still been scoring goals for fun. And Shakhtar, as much as they do like to put up a fight, I can't see them doing any damage at the Nou Camp this evening. I'm going to go for 3-0 to Barcelona. And then finally, it's Royal Antwerp taking on FC Porto. And again, as I just spoke about with Sverensvesta and Young Boys, I do my little bit of research about how these teams are doing domestically. And despite Royal Antwerp being absolutely phenomenal last season, they're being absolutely horrendous in the Belgian league this season. Already, I think it's 9 points off the top, and they're like 7th or 8th in the table. They're not playing good football. They lost both of their opening games in match days 1 and 2 in the Champions League, including losing at home to Shakhtar Donetsk in match day 2, and obviously Porto were able to get the win over Shakhtar in match day 1. So with all of that combined, as much as I'd like to see Royal Antwerp as a very historic club get a result against Porto tonight, I'm going to go for 2-1 to Porto. Let me know down in the comments all of your thoughts about all of today's predictions. Thank you very much for watching as always. I will be back tomorrow morning when we get to do 32 Europa League and Europa Conference League predictions once again.